Charles and I are going to share just a moment with you all, something we would like you all to participate in as a great way of thinking where we are at this point and where we're going from this point. I chose this text because it has this wonderful imagery of the Hebrew people having just defeated the Canaanites and then moving into the land that God had promised them, into the land of Canaan, which eventually becomes Israel. Now, in some commentaries, a lot of folks say that this is sort of almost like a land grant. It was basically sort of almost a historical documentation to validate the Hebrew claim to the land that they thought God had promised them. And I'm not really going there this morning. That's not what I want to think about. I really want to think with you and have you think about the idea of covenant and the idea of stones, of rocks. And that is such a tradition that's not just a part of the biblical heritage, but it's a tradition throughout the world, the use of rocks as memorials, as sacred touchstones. And in this story, the 12 tribes of Israel are established, and then each one has their rock, and they establish this covenant with God, and that becomes the touchstone of that covenant. But I'm not sure about you. Rocks have been a part of my family since our children were very young. I even growing up myself with my uncle. And when my younger son, Matthew, was just an elementary student, we would drive from our house over by Arlington Heights over to Alice Carlson over by TCU, and we would go by the Trinity River right there behind, right off of the bike trail, where there's a little bit of a dip, and you can kind of get down low there. And we would stop there for about 20, 30 minutes before class and pick up stones and skip it across the river. And that became a daily tradition for us. It was a ritual that was incredibly meaningful for the both of us. But I want you to grasp this image. The first time I did that with my son, and he was 6 years old, we went over to pick up rocks, and I showed him. I said, Matthew, you need the right kind of rock to skip. You need a flat rock like that. Let's look for flat rocks. And I remember Matthew just leaned over. He picked up a jagged, big, round, bulky rock. And I said, no. I said, Matthew, you need one of these rocks. And he said, he said this. He said, Dad, this rock talked to me. And I said, well, you can't skip it. He said, yeah, but this is the one that was talking to me. And, of course, Matthew was like so many kids. Whenever you go camping, whenever you go hiking, always picking up rocks. Carl Jung would say in his book, Man and His Symbols, he said, why do people pick up rocks? Why do we do that? And the reality is, it's probably because we want permanence. There's some part of us that emotionally wants permanence, wants to be able to mark something with a sense of permanence. But the unconscious, and what I want to suggest is even the archetypal sort of unconscious reality, is that rocks aren't really permanent. Rocks are transforming just as we transform. In fact, rocks go through a journey just as we go through a journey. Rocks come from dirt, they come from crystallization, they come from life that's broken down and then reforms and then breaks down again. Rocks are the perfect symbol for both where God resides and both for us to remember by. And so we've gathered up a bunch of rocks, a bunch of stones, and we want to think about with you where we've come from. What is it that moves through your life because of 11/11? I like to think of it sometimes as a narrative thread that sometimes we're not always aware of, but there's something that we've connected with when we came here, and that's kept us here, and that we've grown because of. Things that Charles has done and things that we have done because of all of that, this community has created. And I'd like for you to think about that has brought you to this point. And then we're going to pass out these rocks. And as we do, we're going to pass them to you, and we would like you to pass them to one another until everyone in here has a rock. So we just hand them out, and then you just pass them back. But as you do, if you will hold on to that rock for just a moment, and you don't have to say anything to someone unless you want to, but if you'll just hold on to that moment with a sense of blessing and pass it along with that same sense of blessing, that same hope, I think that would be helpful. And while we're doing that, Elizabeth is going to offer a song. Actually, I think, Charles, you're going to say something first.
I'll say something after.
After, that's right. Okay, yeah. Let's see, Lynn, are you coming up to help? Maybe we get one or two other folks that might come up and help. Yeah, Tim, that'd be great.
Call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming grace. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. How you sought me as a stranger, sought me as a friend of, faced with risks of any danger, you compel me with your love. Oh, how to grace a great debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above.
So here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to get attached to your rock. So for a few more minutes, we're just going to keep passing rocks around. I'm going to say one last thing before we go, and maybe as just kind of just one last little word about these rocks. Whenever I think of ritual like this, I think of when we do a ceremony, a ritual together. It's one moment that is timeless moment. It brings together our history. We put our memories together. We brought together our memories of journeys shared, blessings shared, love learned. And then we share that with each other. And then what do we do? Then what is this stone? What makes it precious? It's our intentions. It's our intentions that make it precious. Because these rocks are not precious on their own. But we have some intentions, and maybe some memories and intentions coming together make something happen in the present moment that we can't make happen otherwise. And some of the intentions and memories that I hold as I think of these rocks, I think of all of the ways rocks take their place in the gospel. Think of Jesus saying, "You who are without sin, cast the first stone." Let's just meditate on that for a moment. I think of Jesus as he comes into Jerusalem, Palm Sunday, saying, "You can't quiet this crowd, for if they were quiet, even the rocks and stones would shout." And I think of a stone rolled away on an early morning, where people found that the loss that they felt wasn't the whole story, but there was something bigger going on, for which they had no control, no capacity to even fully understand. They could only let the stone be rolled away from their own eyes on that labyrinth journey we call life. So for me, I will take this stone, and I will think of that, and I'll think of you, and I will think of the way we, on the journey, have helped each other roll some stones out from our eyes. And let it be a daily reminder for that my eyes may continue to be opened. And that's my wish for you. And since this is probably the last time I get to hold this microphone, for now anyway, I have to say, these people have made my life very rich, and you have too. The last 12 years has been a huge experience of growth for me, and that's the only reason that it's time for me to go, because I have new things your blessings have given me that I need to do. So Godspeed.